The program is Inside the Parliament on Africa Independent Television. We're looking at the impact of the legislature on Nigeria's 61 years journey. And we talked with the senator representing Cross River Central, Professor Sunday Onor.
If you ask me, I will say that the legislature has been very brilliant, and I say so objectively from an inside-out perspective. Not many people understand that the most traumatized arm of government has been the legislature. Traumatized in the sense that if you observe and interrogate our political history, you would find that the legislature is that arm of government that is put in the cooler anytime the military strikes. It is the biggest victim of military interregnum. What that therefore means is that the legislature as an institution has been truncated, distorted, and disfigured over time. Of the three arms, the legislature is the one that has suffered institutional deficit the most. Okay? So in the course of this military interregnum, the constitution is suspended, yes, but the courts function. Okay? The executive functions. But the legislature is the one that is put in complete abeyance during that period. So, getting back to democracy, it had to take the legislature some time to fledge up, okay, to standardize. In fact, the legislature is still trying to find its path properly. Many people, therefore, do not see the legislature from this deep historical point, and it's a mistake. So when they criticize the legislature and sometimes speak to it with cynicism, we forgive them because they refuse to take into cognizance this history. That is not to mean that there have not been pitfalls. There have been pitfalls because the legislature should be that arm of government that should be very bold enough to truly oversight the executive. Here and there, that courage has been lacking for obvious reasons. But I think by and large, we are doing pretty well for the Nigerian people.
When you talk about the legislature, you talk about the set of people that are closest to the people, particularly at the grassroots. Yeah. Now, there are a lot of pro-poor bills that the ordinary Nigerian has been looking forward to that have not been able to pass through. At times, some of them are even treated as a joke on the floor of the two chambers. How would you place this?
Well, I don't want to think so because even in the 9th Assembly, there have been a lot of pro-poor bills. I mean, even all the schemes that the executive have put together, welfare schemes, and this government is particularly fashionable with those. The legislature has not only given fillip and strength and legality to a lot of this. We have gone ahead to try to do our oversight in such a way as to find out what really is going on and whether the implementation is deep enough so that the ordinary man will feel the impact of government. So I don't think that position is right. What people must understand is that the process of lawmaking is complete only when the executive gives assent to the bills that we're putting together. The bills pass, but are they assented to? So in criticizing the legislature, you must do it from a two-pronged perspective. The bills we pass, and there are many pro-poor bills that we pass, have they been assented to by the president? So these are some of the issues. Legislating is a process, deep, wide process. And so it's not something that can just happen. Okay? So they must be able to be patient with us. We are pro-poor. We relate with the people directly. We feel the pangs of their poverty more than any other arm of government. And honestly, we are doing our best.
Now let's look at the role of the opposition in the legislature. Time there was when the opposition was so vibrant and the opposition almost set the agenda in the two chambers. But in the last 6 years, there seems to be a kind of I don't know, a lull in the role of the opposition. The voice of the opposition seems to have either been relegated or muzzled.
If you ask me, I'll be straight on courageous enough to tell you that, one, it's a function of the character of the executive that we have presently. Two, a function of the character of the emergence of the present leadership. Okay? Those two factors. And then thirdly, of course, a function of the character of the opposition as it is today. Okay? We need men and women of courage, patriotic people who together can generate that voice that can really serve as a check to the executive. So I won't want to escape from that blame. I belong to the opposition. I don't see the energy enough from us doing what we should do to oppose the executive. And that is
why is the energy lacking?
That is down to a number of reasons. I gave you the first two.
Yes.
The character of the executive. Whether you like it or not, I've had cause to speak to a forum of military men the other day, and I told them, I said, look, the transformation from the military toga to agbada is not an easy one. You may transform by dint of clothes, but you may not transform by dint of conduct and behavior. The way a military man responds to the arguments, the interrogation of what he does is different from the way a civilian does. So maybe we would begin as a country to look at that, and be careful about who we elect to preside over our democracy. It is two. Once there is intervention, of the executive on the judiciary in the emergence of the leadership, the tendency is for that leadership to grovel before the executive. And this is a fact. All those factors are giving rise to this law that we are talking about. Even when I must also say that there are positives to it. Many people don't seem to understand that the legislature cannot be seen to be doing well only when it is engaged permanently in war with the executive. Sometimes you need to cooperate with the executive to make things happen. But that balance must always be on the side of the people.
Certainly not as a rubber stamp.
That's the point I'm making. And if you ask me, I don't think we're a rubber stamp. But we're not doing as much as we ought to do to check the executive.